Destruction, flash flooding from heavy rains devastates the Finger Lakes.
Everything is just gone. All of our vehicles, our camper, everything, our garage is everything's just gone.
Roads washed out, people trapped in their homes. Right now, cleanup efforts are underway. The governor declared a state of emergency for counties across our area, including Monroe, Ontario, Seneca, Wayne, and Yates counties.
There's also a curfew in effect tonight in parts of Seneca County. News 10 NBC has live team coverage on this widespread destruction. We begin with investigative reporter Jennifer Lukey in one of the hardest hit areas in Seneca County. Jen?
Well, Brett, Jen, I'm on Lower Lake Road in Lodi, and I just want to kind of walk you around here and show you a little bit of some of this destruction. You can see all the trees, the debris behind me, and you can see that water is still, all these hours later, running across the road that's been mostly washed out, and that's because debris in the creek. There's nowhere else for the water to go. And if you come back this way, you can see cars like this stuck in the mud and the muck, taken from upstream, and this is where they ended up. Just completely a mess along this road. Some homes, camps destroyed. People obviously very emotional. The damage is so severe, we had to take an ATV to get to it.
30 some that are gone. Just completely gone.
Will Shangros is talking about campers that were on his campground. They were washed away, some even ending up in Seneca Lake.
So we were telling everybody just to leave, and to get up on top of the hill as far up as they could get. And, progressively just kept getting worse.
One woman was rescued from a trailer in the lake. Another family saved after their camper was swept into a cottage below. Everywhere you look along Lower Lake Road in Lodi, there's devastation.
Our back door, there was just a huge bang, and our back door just busted open, and the flood just came right through our house and just took everything. Like, everything is just gone. All of our vehicles, our camper, everything, our garage is everything's just gone.
The Mott family raced to the second floor of their home to escape the rising water.
Once we realized how deep the water was going to be, we stayed there.
They were rescued by emergency responders and now have to decide how to move forward. They don't have flood insurance.
But we're glad that so far we have not heard of anybody being injured, so that's the important thing.
Emergency crews spent the day going door to door to ensure everyone was out. The area will likely be without power and water for a while crews work to clear a path to at least get more manpower here to try and help those who've lost so much.
I guess you're just thankful that everyone's alive at this point, seeing this damage.
All this can be replaced. It was more just making sure that everybody was here, was still here.
And seeing this damage back out here live tonight, that is the one thing that people are thankful for, the silver lining in all of this, because you can see just what a mess this is and how long it will likely be like this, because emergency responders are having a hard time getting down this road. Just to give you some perspective, you see this is Seneca Lake, and you can see the debris is ending up right in the lake. And that area right there is actually looks kind of good compared to what we've seen up and down this road all day. Basically the entire shoreline just covered in all of the debris, lawnmowers, snow blowers, boats, trailers. We've seen all of that just washed right into the lake. So obviously a massive cleanup here in Seneca County. In Lodi tonight, Jennifer Lukey, News 10 NBC.
All right, Jennifer, thanks. We want to show you exactly where the most significant flooding damage is in Seneca County. It's focused along the Wine Trail on Seneca Lake. The hardest hit areas include the towns of Lodi, as you saw in Jennifer's live report, as well as Hector and the village of Ovid. Our First Alert weather team has been keeping an eye on the heavy rains and flooding all day. I'm here in the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Capel. And Jeremy, I guess the good news is the worst is past us.
Yes.
Bad news is we're not out of the woods yet.
No, we're not. We still have some rising waters out there. Eastern sections of Monroe County near Arundecourt Creek. You're seeing those waters continue to rise near you. Some of those tributaries going to get up above their flood stage, and that did lead to an aerial flood warning. We're at 77. We've got clouds, and now we have another shower moving in. Fortunately, this rain not heavy, but it is going to be enough. Maybe for a quick 1/10 of an inch out towards Ogden, but that's okay. Western portions of the county didn't get hit hard. It's the eastern sections of the county where we've been focusing on the rainfall. You can see that shower shifting south and some of the communities that will be impacted by this brief downpour out towards Charley 620, out towards Wheatland about 640 or so. There is that area underneath that aerial flood warning. That's the Arundecoit Creek, goes to 145 tomorrow. So those waters in some cases are still rising. Additional showers, a little heavier out towards the Sodas Bay area. You don't need the rain. Pushing south into the Finger Lakes, and while we still have some heating with us, these showers will likely linger over the next couple of hours before ending as that big upper low begins to pull away from us. We're going to get this guy out of here. It's going to take a few more hours, and then we'll get some dry time as we head towards the day tomorrow, first half the day on Thursday. We've got problems after that, however, because we could see more heavy rains and thunderstorms before the weekend. We'll time that out for you coming up in Rochester's only 10-day forecast.
All right, Jeremy, thank you. The cleanup is underway in Fairport and Perrinton, which saw some of the most intense rain and where some of the damage is truly painful. News 10 NBC's Charles Molyneux is live in Perrinton right now. Charles.
Yeah, Jenna, this part of Powder Mills Park is actually still flooded. You can see the, sort of aquatic picnic table over there. And a little closer, that barbecue grill is barely peeking out of the flood. But the flooding has actually come down, as we can see over here. So the park road itself is actually reopened just within the past couple of hours, and most of the roads in the area are now open again. Now, Fairport and Perrinton were very quickly drenched by the rains this morning. Some 10 roads around the area were closed off because of the flooding. Most of them have now been reopened. A lot of that subsided by this evening, but the damage is much more lasting at Canalside Jewelers, right in the middle of Fairport on Main Street. Now, a painful process of cleanup and salvage is underway. The intense rain overwhelmed a slow drain on the roof and turned into a flood inside the building. It ruined ceilings, walls, sheetrock, computer, the cash register, and also rendered 2 apartments in the building uninhabitable.
Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. Water does the worst damage. Yeah. So, but we're in there cleaning it up. We've been in there cleaning it up all day.
It's not fun. This was my father's store, and he unfortunately passed away, and my sister and I took it over. So it's just hard seeing his legacy go down like this. It's been a hard day.
Now, the store does have insurance, but obviously a long and painful process of cleanup and rebuilding is now got to get underway. Meanwhile, Perrinton is still keeping a close eye on the Arundecoit Creek. Fairport, for its part, is also watching the Thomas Creek as that water moves downstream. Reporting live in Perrinton, Charles Molyneux, News 10 NBC.
Thanks, Charles. So what happens now if your car or home was damaged by the floodwaters? What do you do? Or
what if you're a leader in one of those towns in Seneca County? What are you up against? News 10 NBC Chief Investigative Reporter Berkeley Breen tracked down the people who have been in this position before. Burke.
Jen, I learned that you need to fight to get money, convince people, especially the government, how bad the damage is, and you need to be ready to wait longer than you want.
Hey, how about that SUV buried in mud and another deep in the water? What happens to those owners? I tracked down Mike Berry from the Insurance Information Institute. On FaceTime, he told me this damage for 4 out of 5 people is covered.
Most Americans carry what's called optional comprehensive coverage.
So most of the time, when we see those cars flooded, damaged by this kind of storm, the owners of those cars are going to be okay.
By virtue of having the comprehensive coverage, the driver is covered for flood-caused damage to their vehicle.
Now, unfortunately, damage to your house is different. If a home is not in a designated flood zone, it probably does not have flood insurance. The state has not given us any direction on what agency homeowners should call if you need help, but when it does, we will share that with you. Berkeley Breen, News 10 NBC.
All right, Berkeley, thank you. Our coverage on the destruction continues. Let's take another live look at the conditions in Seneca County. Once again, state police issued a curfew in parts of Lodi for the flooding emergency.
We'll show you incredible video from another area along Seneca Lake dealing with heavy rains. Coming up next.
This is video just into our newsroom. Ellison Park is closed to the public until further notice due to flooding from Arundecoit Creek.
The creek runs through the park, which borders Penfield and Brighton on the county's east side. The National Weather Service says high water may approach Blossom Road, but right now Blossom is still open.
And a look at this video just sent to us from a viewer. Andy Dickinson took it with his drone today in Watkins Glen near Route 14. That's on the southern end of Seneca Lake. You can see how close the water gets to the road below. Now remember, you can send us your pictures and video through the WHEC TV Facebook page or the News 10 NBC weather app.
Local leaders are working around the clock to clean up the flooding damage.
Coming up, how Monroe County focuses its efforts to better help towns in our community. And you're taking another live look at Seneca County. Our First Alert weather team is live to explain how this flash flooding happened next. County leaders spent the day keeping an eye on this storm. Monroe County Executive Cheryl Donalfo opened the Emergency Operations Center this morning when she declared a state of emergency. She says having all the decision makers in the same room is critical to quickly responding to local emergencies. The county was in constant contact with local towns hit hard by flooding.
You've got a potential for something more than just Parenton because obviously the tributaries flow into another tributary, and so we wanted to make sure that not only were the folks in Parenton protected and safe, those traveling into the vicinity also had the same level of protection, and should the situation spread to other municipalities, other towns, that we were ready to respond as well.
The state of emergency remains in effect tonight. Donalfo is asking people driving through the area to use caution and avoid roadways with standing water.
So how did this flash flooding happen in such a short period of time? Our First Alert weather team is here to explain.
Let's start with meteorologist Robert Speta live in Seneca County. Robert.
Well, the first thing a lot of people say is, of course, you had a lot of rain, and that triggers flooding. But in this specific instance, the flash flooding was part of the topography and all of the rainfall. Right now, this is Mill Creek right behind me. Actually, crews back there, all volunteers, by the way, continuing to clear up the logs that were built up there. Just a tremendous amount of debris. But all of that water flowed down this creek around 5 to 6 a.m. out of this hillside just ahead of us, about a 500 to 600 foot drop into this basin. Now, I talked to somebody earlier on. They said the water was flowing about this high above that railing. Just gives you an idea. Of course, this cannot hold all of that precipitation and all of that water flow. Let's look back behind me here. This is where it all spilled out, and that is what you call a flash flood. That water spills out of this river. It comes down in such a short time, and the water, I'm sure, rose out here in the matter of minutes. I mentioned earlier on, I've been through several typhoons in my life, and out in Taiwan, they had a very similar instance. Mountainsides, water collected, it flowed down. This reminds me much of what happened there. It's just one of those instances of a funneling effect we talk about, and you've seen that out here in the Finger Lakes this morning. Good news, there was no casualties out of this. That's the fantastic stuff. But right now, there are plenty of volunteers. I've seen the National Guard drive by, continuing to pick up after what was definitely a very rare event for this area. But I mentioned is a lot of rain. You had that training effect that took place. Jeremy, I'm sure, has been talking about that training effect and what exactly it means all the afternoon here. Jeremy?
Yeah, Robert, real quickly, you talked about what took place this morning in such a short period of time with all that rain falling out there. And you also talked about how many people had to be rescued by boats. Can you go a little further into that?
Well, that's actually one of the things that is very unique about this area. There is this steep hillside, so you can only imagine there's only so many roadways going up this way. They were all blocked up because of those logs this morning I just showed you a second ago. They had to get those logs cleared out, but that took a while. So you have Seneca Lake right behind me out here. About 65 people were rescued via boat because that was the only way to get them out of here earlier on this morning. Good news, those roads have been cleared up, at least at this time, Jeremy.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much. Good reporting out there, and we are very fortunate that nobody lost their lives in that storm. Heavy rain, it's pretty much out of here, but we continue to watch showers being produced by that upper low pressure system. You can see Doppler radar estimates, and it gives you an idea of where the most torrential rains fell. It's showing somewhere in the order of around 3, 4, 5 inches of rain down here in southern sections of Seneca County. And while it's not the rainfall amounts per se that caused such massive problems, it's the combination that it fell all at once over an hour hour-and-a-half period of time, and you have that steep terrain, those canyons, and all that water is forced to flow down into those streams at a very, very fast rate. Further to the north, the rain fell over a little longer period of time for portions of both Wayne, Ontario, and into Monroe counties, but impressive totals, 3, 4, locally about 5 inches of rainfall. We've had higher reports out towards the Victor area, but this is the case of the haves and have-nots again. We have seen this several times this summer where our eastern counties get hammered with rain, but you go to the west and just on the other side of Monroe County, about a quarter inch of rain out towards Brockport, out towards Sweden, and our western counties, Orleans, Genesee, Wyoming counties, largely completely missed. It would have been nice to have been able to evenly distribute the rainfall, but it just wasn't in the cards. This is another result of that flooding out there. This photo submitted by our own Robert Spetta out there in Lodi. Look at all of the trees, the debris. No doubt it's going to be a long restoration period for the homeowners of that house. That's the town of Lodi, I should say. WHEC weather app, that's how Robert got that picture to me, and you can too. If you haven't already downloaded it, go ahead to your favorite app store and just type in the keywords WHEC weather. Outside, we've got cloud cover. We've got the very warm conditions and very humid conditions as well. 77, that dew point's way up there. We'll continue to deal with the humidity. Showers moving into southern portions of Monroe County, but it's rain-free over the aerial flood warning that continues for the Irondequoit Creek area. As mentioned, Ellison Park is closed until further notice. Shower activity will be winding down over the next couple of hours. This should not lead to any more flooding, but it certainly isn't going to help the situation. You see showers pushing south. This is on the backside of an area of low pressure that will finally move away. It's been impacting our weather for 2 or 3 days now. Some dry time off to our west that arrives here into the day tomorrow. So we get rid of the rain showers this evening, maybe a little bit of patchy fog here by morning tomorrow. Quick look at your futurecast, and you can see we are rain-free tomorrow, but it's going to be hot. Here's your forecast. 88 tomorrow, 87 degrees on Thursday. We'll see those rain chances returning Thursday night and Friday. We'll want to watch this period of time because the rain, again, could be heavy. Dry weather returning for the weekend. See some sunshine, lower 80s Saturday and Sunday, lower humidity into next week, into your 10-day forecast. Another chance of rain around Tuesday and Wednesday. Jen, it's been a long day.
Oh, it sure has. Thanks, Jeremy. Coming up, sides are closing in on a resolution to the LaShawn McCoy home invasion situation.
Plus, rain throws a wrench into the Bills' plans for training camp practice. How the team coped. Next in sports.
Now, News 10 NBC Sports with Rich Donnelly.
The strong rain that rolled through our area this morning directly affected the Bills' practice at Fisher. This morning's training camp practice was closed to fans and then rescheduled to a walkthrough that was also closed. This was the scene at Fisher this morning, just far too wet for anything productive to happen. Even if you wanted an autograph from a player, the rain would have probably washed away the ink from the marker. Instead, the Bills moved practice to this afternoon, and we will have a full report tonight at 11. Prior to their walkthrough, Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier spoke with the media and said that he's impressed with what he's seen from former first-round pick Shaq Lawson.
He's handled things well. I mean, with all the conjecture about, what this year means for him, it seems to me that he's blocked the noise out. He's focused on this opportunity that he has. He's trying to do the best he can. He's had a good camp up to this point.
It was delayed by more than a month because of the brutal beating resulting from a home invasion. But today in Atlanta, an eviction hearing for LaShawn McCoy's ex-girlfriend did take place. Lawyers and McCoy's ex-girlfriend were in mediation for 2 hours and did reach an agreement. She no longer lives in the home and will retrieve personal items on Monday. What looked like a possible Cy Young season earlier this year is quickly unraveling. Yankee starter Luis Severino got shelled last night. He gave up 4 runs in just 4 innings. In fact, Severino has 4 losses in his last 5 starts and hasn't gone past the 6th inning since July 1st. The Yankees host Tampa tonight. And the Red Wings continue their series in Columbus tonight. Only 22 games left in the season for the Wings. We'll let you know how they do at 11. We're back after this.
Thanks for making News 10 NBC your choice for news.
NBC Nightly News is coming up next. And join us for News 10 NBC at 7. Have a great night.
See you.